George Patton and Bernard Montgomery were two brilliant but fundamentally different generals whose contrasting philosophies defined their rivalry during World War II. Patton believed wars were won through aggressive action, lightning-fast advances, and relentless offensive momentum, pushing his armored divisions forward with bold, high-risk maneuvers. Montgomery, on the other hand, favored careful planning, methodical operations, and tight battlefield control, advancing only when every element was prepared and coordinated to minimize casualties. Their egos, confidence, and desire to prove their approach was superior turned professional disagreement into personal competition. Both achieved major successes, but their rivalry shaped key Allied decisions, influenced battlefield strategy, and created ongoing tension within the coalition as each man sought not only victory, but recognition as the better commander.
The rivalry between Patton and Montgomery truly began in North Africa, where both men emerged as major battlefield personalities competing for leadership and prestige. After Montgomery's victory over Rommel at El Alamein, he gained a reputation as the disciplined British commander who could halt German advances through careful planning and control. Patton entered the war in North Africa shortly afterward, transforming the battered U.S. Army in Tunisia into a tough, disciplined fighting force following the defeat at Kasserine Pass, and he quickly proved himself as an aggressive field commander who demanded speed, initiative, and relentless attack. From this point forward, both generals saw themselves as the dominant strategist in the theater, and what began as professional pride grew into a quiet but powerful competition for success, recognition, and the upper hand in Allied command influence.
The rivalry between Patton and Montgomery intensified during the Normandy campaign, where both generals were expected to work together while secretly competing in strategy, results, and reputation. After D-Day, Montgomery commanded the northern sector and led slow, methodical offensives around Caen, believing that careful planning and controlled advances were the safest way to break German resistance. Patton, once his Third Army became operational, pushed through the southern front with fast-moving armored thrusts, favoring bold maneuvers, rapid encirclements, and constant forward momentum. Although both approaches contributed to the Allied effort, their contrasting styles created tension beneath the surface, as each man believed his method was the true key to victory, turning cooperation into quiet competition and setting the stage for even greater strategic conflict in the months ahead. The rivalry between Patton and Montgomery reached its most dramatic turning point during the Falaise Gap in August 1944, when tens of thousands of German troops were trapped in Normandy, and the Allies had a chance to destroy a major portion of the German army. Patton's forces were positioned only miles from sealing the escape route, and he wanted to advance immediately, believing that speed and decisive action would complete the encirclement and end the battle. Montgomery and senior Allied leadership, however, insisted on cautious coordination between armies and strict respect for command boundaries, delaying Patton's push while Canadian and British forces slowly advanced from the north. The hesitation allowed a large number of German soldiers to escape through the opening, later returning to fight again in battles such as the Ardennes offensive. And this moment became the defining symbol of their rivalry, with supporters of Patton arguing that aggression would have ended the fight sooner, while supporters of Montgomery claimed that control and safety were more important than risky rapid movement. After the breakout from Normandy and the race across France, the rivalry between Patton and Montgomery shifted into a contest over strategic priorities for the final push into Germany, with both generals seeking recognition as the leader whose plan would win the war.
Montgomery promoted his bold but risky single-thrust strategy through Operation Market Garden, arguing that a concentrated attack in the Netherlands could break into Germany and end the conflict quickly, while Patton believed that continued broad front advances powered by aggressive armor movements in the south were the key to sustained momentum. When Market Garden failed, Patton felt vindicated, yet political considerations and coalition unity prevented either general from gaining clear dominance, forcing them to operate within Eisenhower's balancing approach. Their rivalry became less about personal competition on the battlefield and more about contrasting philosophies of warfare, shaping Allied strategy and leaving a lasting debate over whether caution or audacity was the better path to victory. The rivalry between Patton and Montgomery continued into the final months of World War II, most notably during the Battle of the Bulge, where both generals again sought to prove their strategic value under crisis conditions. When the Germans launched their surprise winter offensive through the Ardennes, Montgomery took command of the northern sector and stabilized the British and American lines, presenting himself publicly as the steady hand who saved the situation. At the same time, Patton rapidly redirected his Third Army northward in one of the most impressive turnaround maneuvers of the war, relieving the besieged town of Bastogne and demonstrating the speed and flexibility for which he was famous. After the crisis ended, both men claimed credit in different ways, and Montgomery's controversial press conference angered many American leaders, deepening the sense of rivalry. Although the Allies emerged victorious, the competition between Patton and Montgomery during this period showed how ego, pride, and ambition intertwined with strategy and leadership, influencing not only military decisions but also public perception of who truly turned the tide in Europe.
As the war neared its end, the rivalry between Patton and Montgomery evolved from battlefield competition into a broader struggle over legacy, reputation, and how history would remember their contributions to victory in Europe. Both generals had achieved remarkable successes, yet each remained convinced that his leadership and strategic vision had been the decisive factor in defeating Nazi Germany, leading to subtle and sometimes public efforts to shape narratives in speeches, interviews, and official reports. Patton felt underestimated by British leadership and overshadowed by politics despite his rapid advances and battlefield aggressiveness, while Montgomery believed his careful planning, organization, and coalition discipline had been the foundation of Allied success. Their contrasting personalities, Patton fiery, impulsive, and bold, Montgomery calm, methodical, and self-assured, turned their rivalry into a symbol of two opposing philosophies of warfare. In the end, their competition did not divide the Allied cause, but instead highlighted the complex balance between caution and audacity, structure and momentum, and showed how even great leaders can clash while still fighting toward the same victory.
After the war, the rivalry between Patton and Montgomery continued to echo through memoirs, historical debates, and public opinion, as each man's supporters sought to prove that their general had been the true driving force behind Allied victory in Europe. Patton's sudden death in December 1945 froze his image in time as the daring, fearless warrior who might have shaped the post-war world differently had he lived longer, while Montgomery remained active for decades, defending his reputation in speeches and books that emphasized his disciplined leadership and strategic caution. Historians later recognized that their rivalry was not simply personal ego, but a reflection of deeper tensions within coalition warfare, differences in national priorities, command structures, and military philosophy that sometimes clashed even while pursuing the same ultimate goal. Today, the Patton-Montgomery rivalry is remembered as one of the most fascinating leadership duels in military history, a story that illustrates how ambition, pride, and contrasting visions of war can coexist within a partnership that still achieved one of the greatest victories of the 20th century.